Hey everybody, welcome to Crack a Pack Tuesday on the Mana League. I'm John, as always, and we've got more Dragons of Tarkir. It's still here, as much as I'd prefer not to be, but it's still here. We're going to crack this open and see what we've got for Pack 1, Pick 1. Up first, we've got the exact same as last week, Aven Tactician. Four and a white for a 2/3 flyer that when it enters the battlefield, it bolsters 1. I'm repeating myself here. Totally fine in most white decks. Pretty happy to have it in most white decks. Totally not ever going to first pick it, however. And we've got the same print run because we've got Hand of Silumgar here again. It's 1 and a black for a 2/1 Death Touch. Just like last week, first pickable in a really bad pack. Hopefully not first pickable in this pack, however. A card that you just totally want in every black deck and you're happy to have. It's a high pick, preferably not first. Scream Reach Brawler, we're still on that same print run. 2 and a red for a 2/3, but you can dash it for 2. Fits in the dash deck pretty well. Otherwise, it's just meaningless filler, not a first pick. There we go. We're off the print run. And we're on to the all-star card of Resupply. It's 5 and a white for an instant to get 6 life and draw a card. Not worth it. Not ever worth it. Don't ever take this. Don't ever play this. Gaining 6 life is not worth a card. Even though it replaces itself, it's not worth a card, and especially not worth 6 mana. Awful. Take it and rip it up. Next up, we've got Colossadon Yearling. This is a 2 and a green, vanilla 2/4. Absolutely nothing going on with this creature. 2/4 for 3 is a really nice stat, however. It's not aggressive at all. But boy, does it buy you time. There's very little on turn 3, and on turn 4 for that matter. Oftentimes, even on turn 5, that's going to get through this guy. Stuff that can go over it for sure, but not too much that can go through him. He's going to buy you some time. So if you're in a ramp deck or a grindy deck, this guy's not too bad for you. That being said, he is just purely vanilla. You're going to be able to get these late if you want one, and never ever first pick it. Gurmag Drowner. Now, here's a first pickable card. 3 and a blue for a 2/4. It has Exploit, and when Gurmag Drowner. When Gurmag Drowner exploits a creature, look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, and the rest into your graveyard. This fuels Delve. This lets you dig through your top 4 cards for the best card that's in there. This lets you throw away lands that you don't want that are on top. This guy is super useful. Total role player in the blue-black exploit deck. And first pickable, I think, for sure. Next up, we've got Sprinting Warbrute. Just as much as Drowner is a role player in blue-black exploit, Sprinting Warbrute is a pretty big role player in the black-red dash deck. 4 and a red for a 5/4. It must attack each turn. Why wouldn't you? And you can dash it in for 3 and a red. With a Warbringer, this thing costs 1 and a red to dash in. This is just probably the finisher / board clearer of the red-black dash deck, and you're always pretty happy to have these. That being said, I don't know if it's first pickable. I don't know if you want to take this without already being in the dash deck. It's a solid card, but you really want, the rest of the deck to be supporting it already. I don't think it's first pickable, but I think it is highly pickable. And it's definitely something to take if you want to be forcing that deck, because it is a pretty good deck, as we found out on this channel at least. Sprinting Warbrute. Next up, we've got Stampeding Elk Herd. This is a 3 green creature elk. It's a 5/5, and it's got Formidable. So when it attacks, your team gets Trample. If you have 8 power or more on the board, and you've already got 5 if you have this guy down. You only need a single 3 power creature to be turning on Formidable. This is a really good card. It's a solid role player in green. It's going to give all of your big guys Trample pretty darn easily, and that's going to get through for a lot of extra damage most of the time. I don't think it's first pickable, but I think it is pretty solid. If you're already flirting with green, this is a card to take for sure. Next up, we've got Ancestral Statue. It's a 4-mana artifact creature. It's a 3/4, and when it enters the battlefield, you need to return a non-land permanent you control to its owner's hand, presumably your hand. I've seen some people suggest this might not be as bad as it seems, but I just don't like it. I don't want to be wasting my turn 4 on a 3/4 and returning one of my permanents to my hand. Yeah, maybe I don't do anything until turn 4, but that's, it sounds even worse to me. I don't want to be doing that at all, especially in such a fast, aggressive format as Dragons of Tarkir. So I'm just totally out on Ancestral Statue. I don't think it's really worth a card. Next up, we've got Duress. This is a single black sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. That player discards that card. Don't ever main deck these. There's no real reason to main deck them. I've talked about this at length on this channel, but I'll continue talking about it. You're not going to have too many non-creature spells in your average draft deck, or your average good draft deck anyways, barring any crazy off-center archetype things. And so this card often just won't hit anything. Often your opponent's hand is going to be lands and creatures, and this will just completely whiff. Put this in the sideboard if there is some scary instant or sorcery or artifact or enchantment that you want to get out of your opponent's hand. Put this in if there's a Palace Siege or a Citadel Siege that you've already seen in Game 1. Then put this in. Otherwise, don't main deck these, and that, of course, means don't pick them very highly either. Next up, we've got Echoes of the Kin Tree. This is a 1 and a white enchantment, and for 2 and a white, you can bolster 1. So this is repeatable bolster, and I like repeatable bolster, but it's repeatable bolster with quite a bit of a cost attached to it. 3 mana is a lot. And yeah, I could do this twice every turn if I had 6 mana, but that means I'm not putting down 6 drops. That means I'm not putting down my giant white, Shieldhide Dragon or whatever. It means I'm just bolstering and putting all my eggs in one basket or maybe a couple of baskets. And I just don't like doing that. I do like that this enchantment costs so little to get down. It's just 2 mana. But I think the investment cost for the bolster is too much. I think this card's a trap, and I love seeing it come down on my opponent's side just because I know it's almost always really easy to deal with. I'm never first picking this. I'm never really actively picking it either, to be honest. Next up, we've got Lightning Berserker. This is a single red for a 1/1. So it's a 1/1 for 1, but it's got Fire Breathing. You can pay a red to give it +1/+0 until end of turn. You can also dash it out if you want for a single red as well. This card is a total role player in Standard, and it's total garbage, frankly, in Limited. Generally, Fire Breathing is not a great ability in Limited. It needs to be on a pretty solid creature already, preferably a dragon, something that flies, something that's big, something that has First Strike or Trample or something else with it. Just pure Fire Breathing, not really worth a creature. And this guy's just, not good. Pick this guy late if you are desperate for low drop red creatures, maybe, but otherwise I'm not a fan. Next up, we've got a Tarka Monument. This is 3 mana. For an artifact, you can tap it and give yourself a red or a green mana. And then later in the game, you can pay 4 colorless, a red, and a green to turn this into a 4/4 flying dragon until end of turn. I am totally out of the monuments. I've been out on the monuments since the second they were spoiled. People originally were extraordinarily high on them. You can get a dragon just for nothing, plus it also made you mana earlier in the game. Yeah, it's just not worth it. It's such a huge investment. It's a waste of a turn 3 in a morph format. Yeah, I don't like these. I don't like these just as much as I didn't like the banners. I've never really played them. In Sealed, it's a different question. You may be able to get by with one of these, but in Draft, I don't think you should ever really be playing these. Our rare is Hedonist's Trove. This is a janky rare. It's fun, but it's janky. 5 black for an enchantment. When Hedonist's Trove enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target opponent's graveyard. You may play land cards exiled with Hedonist's Trove. That means 1 per turn as your land drop. You don't get any extra land drops or anything like that. You may cast non-land cards exiled with Hedonist's Trove. You can't cast more than 1 spell this way each turn. You must pay the mana costs for them. So unless your opponent is playing the same colors as you, you had better hope they have lands in their graveyard for some reason in order to cast this. This isn't playable. It's fun. I've played with it on my Wacky Wednesday rare drafts, but it's otherwise totally unplayable. You just can't really justify taking and planning to play with this card unless you're doing something like Wacky Wednesday. Very fun, but ultimately very bad. Did we get a foil? We did not. A Plains and a Morph. So I think our pick is actually going all the way back to our commons. We're looking at Gurmag Drowner and Sprinting Warbrute. I think if you want to force black-red, you take the Warbrute and then just keep forcing black-red. But I think Gurmag Drowner is probably the better card in its deck. It's just so useful, and since black-red is so heavily drafted right now, I'd be fine going with Gurmag Drowner and looking down the blue-black exploit route. Blue-black, of course, is one of my favorite decks in this format. I find it much more fun than black-red anyways. But that's my pick for this pack, Gurmag Drowner. There was definitely other options. The Sprinting Warbrute was very close, I have to say. Maybe you're one of the people who like the Echoes of the Treekin, or maybe you just want to go Hand of Silumgar. Definitely let me know what you would have taken. I love learning from you guys as much as I hope you love learning from me. I'm not the be-all and end-all on Crack-A-Packs at all, so let me know what you would have taken in the comments below. You can also find me on Twitter at TheManaLeak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/TheManaLeak. You've already found me here on YouTube. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, the comment section is down there below. If you like the videos, you can click the little thumbs up icons. That will let the world know and keep my videos rising up through the ranks. And you can also subscribe to my channel. There's a subscribe button below each video and one in the outro of each video. That'll keep you up to date on all the latest Crack-A-Pack Tuesdays, Wacky Wednesdays, Spiky Saturdays, and any other special videos that pop up here or there. As always, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.